Greetings and welcome to our Crochet Connection. My name is April Diane, and today we are working on Hole in the Wall on page 17 of the Big Book of Crochet Stitches. And according to this pattern, it wants you to do chain multiples of 2 plus 1. So we start out with a chain of 15. As you know, chain multiples means the design plus the turning chain. So the design calls for multiples of 2. So we multiplied it by 7 to get the desired length, which gave us 14, and then we added 1, which is the plus 1, to give us the completed chain multiple formula. And then if you look at the pattern, the instructions say row 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook and in each remaining chain. Okay, so as you know, I like to crochet in the back bump. If you're not familiar with single crochets, we have a video for that. Okay, if you're not familiar with understanding the back bump, you can definitely take a look at the video. It explains that as well. Okay, so we're gonna go into, this doesn't count, this is just how the yarn and the hook are connected, right? You know that. And then this would be the first chain from the hook. Very rarely, I have only seen one time that you actually would go into that one. Most patterns suggest that you should go into the second chain from the hook. Okay, so if you're going from the front, you can go right on ahead, right in here in the center. And if you're going from the back, you just want to flip that baby right on over. Okay, and there's the back bump. All right, and so you're going to go into the back bump right here. Ooh, ooh. If you're like me, you're going into the back bump. If you're not like me, you're going into the front, which is totally cool too. I like to go in the back bump because of how it looks when you're completed. It looks the same on the bottom as it does on the top. So that's my justification. So it wants us to do a single crochet all the way down, starting from the second chain all the way down. So if you've made your piece 15 chains like we have, at the end you should be left with 14 single crochets. Okay, so we're doing a single crochet, inserting it into the insertion point, yarning over, pulling it through, yarning over, pulling through the 2. Okay, and if you're familiar with this, you can go ahead and pause your video. You don't want to watch me do this the whole way down. Also, you can take a look there. We put on a little tutorial about completing the single crochet for you to take a look at while you're doing it as well. Either way, you decide. This pattern is really cool. It definitely works with clusters as well. So that's something really nice. I like clusters. They make the piece kind of thick. So if you're working with the blanket, making a blanket, this could be a good pattern for you. Okay. And we got all the way down to the end. You might want to use stitch markers. That's why I got my little safety pin to remind you where the beginning and the end of each row is, so that you make sure you go into all of them. Okay, so I got to the end and it says to chain 2, okay, before you turn. I'm going to change my colors here just so that you can see the variation in the rows. So that's why I have like none left here. Okay, so I'm going to change my colors. So I'm going to do a chain 2, 1. Oh, that really doesn't count. Chain 1 and chain 2. Okay, it looks like it counts on my piece, so but it doesn't. All right, just because that's how I joined the yarn. So I'm gonna snug that down. Okay, so now that we're gonna go ahead, this is a great way to take a look at this too, because I want you to see that we did chaining 2, right? This is the turning chain, 1 and 2, right? And then this is the very first single crochet. Okay, so that little piece that you're seeing there, it really doesn't count. It's just how I snugged my, switched my yarn color over. But you can definitely see that these ones you don't go into. It says to go into next, it says into the first single crochet, okay, for row 2. So on row 2, it wants us to yarn over first and go into the first single crochet. right? That's our insertion point. And then it wants us to yarn over and pull up a loop. And here's the catch. It wants you to pull up a loop to the height of a double crochet, okay? And then it wants you to yarn over and draw through 2 loops on the hook, okay? All right, and next it says to yarn over and insert your hook into the next single crochet, which is here. And then it says to yarn over and draw up a loop, but this time not to the height, just draw up a regular loop. And then yarn over and draw through 2 loops on the hook, okay? Then the pattern says twice after that. The previous directions that I just mentioned were in parentheses, and generally that means that everything that's in the parentheses is done the number of times suggested by the follow-up direction. So this one, it says twice. So it says for us to yarn over again because we're doing the same directions twice, and then insert into the next single crochet. So it means the next one. So we're actually working in 3 spaces. Okay, so we're gonna go into the next one, we're gonna yarn over and we're gonna draw up a loop, not to the height this time. And then we're gonna yarn over and we're gonna draw through 2 loops, okay? So then there are 4 loops on the hook. Okay, and now it says to yarn over and pull your yarn over through those 4 loops that are on the hook. Okay, so we're leaving it right there. Your first beginning cluster is made. Okay, and then you're going to chain 2. So chain 1 and chain 2. Okay, the next step says to cluster. All right, so what does it mean to cluster? Well, if you look on the stitch guide, to cluster, it says to yarn over and insert the hook in the same single crochet as the last single crochet. Okay, so here, so in the same single crochet as the last stitch, rather. Okay, so we're going to, the start of the cluster begins in the previous worked stitch. So you're going to yarn over and you're going to insert your hook right into that space, and then you're going to yarn over and you're going to draw up a loop to the height of a double crochet, and then you're going to yarn over and you're going to draw through 2 loops. Okay, now it says to yarn over and insert hook in the next single crochet. So you yarn over, here's the next single crochet. All right, you're going to insert your hook right into there, yarn over, draw up a loop, regular loop drawing up, no height leveled, and then yarn over, draw through 2 loops. Okay, it says to complete the steps that are in the parentheses 2 times. So we're going to do that once again. We're going to yarn over, and in the next single crochet, we're going to insert the hook and then yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and then take off 2. We're left with what? 4 loops on our hook. And then we're going to yarn over and we're going to draw through all 4 of those loops. Okay? Good. Now it says to chain 2. 1 and 2. And then it says that it wants us to continue to do that all the way down. Okay, so we're going to complete a cluster and a chain 2 until we get to the last single crochet, and I'll tell you what to do once we get there. All right, so let's do that again with the cluster. So we're going to yarn over and we're going to go into this space, right, because we're going to work in the stitch from the single crochet from the previous stitch. So we're going to go right into here and we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop to the height. We're going to yarn over and pull off 2. Then we're going to yarn over and go into the next single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, just plain, yarn over, pull off 2, 3 loops on, and repeat that, yarn over. In the next one, we're gonna go right into here, and we're gonna yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull off 2, okay, 4 loops on. And then we're gonna yarn over and pull off all 4 loops, okay? Just pulling that yarn over right through those 4 loops. Okay, see, it's making like a little pocket. I guess these are our holes. And then we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to repeat. Yarn over, working in the space from the previous stitch, yarn over, pulling up a loop to the height, yarning over, pulling off 2, yarning over, going into the next one, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off 2, yarning over, going into the next insertion point, the next single crochet, yarning over, pulling it through, yarning over, pulling off 2, 4 loops remaining, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on the hook. Beautiful. And you guessed it, chaining 2 after that, 1 and 2. Let's repeat it again. Yarning over, going into the same space as the previous stitch, insertion point, yarning over, pulling up a loop to the height, yarning over, pulling off 2, yarning over, going into the next single crochet, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off 2, yarning over, inserting it into the next space, single crochet rather, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off 2, yarning over, pulling off all 4 loops, chaining 2, 1 and 2. Okay, and it says to the last 2 stitches of single crochet. So here are the last, this is actually 3 I still have on here. I don't know why that is. Wah, wah. Okay, so I'm just gonna continue on as if I had oh no, not 3. Okay, so we're good to go. Let's continue because we're actually still working. I made a mistake. It's not to the last 2, it's just to the last single crochet. Okay, so good deal. Chain 2, yarn over and go into the single crochet from the previous stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off 2, yarning over, inserting it into the next one, yarning over, pulling up a pulling it through, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off 2, yarning over, going into the next single crochet, yarning over, pulling it through, yarning over, pulling off 2, yarning over, pulling off all 4. Beautiful. Okay, and then chaining 2. And it says to do a half double crochet in this last single crochet that's here. Phew, we made it. So we're going to yarn over first because a half double crochet requires you to yarn over first, and then go into the insertion point, which is that single crochet, and then yarn over, pull it through, and then yarn over and pulling through all of them. Half double crochet is pulling through all of them. Okay? All right, so there we go. And then it says for us to chain 1 and turn. So since I'm going to actually switch my colors again so that you can see the variation with the rows, I'm just going to cut that off, and then I'm going to chain 1. Okay, so chain 1. Okay, so I'm just going to snug that up a little bit. That's really not a chain 1. I keep saying that, but it's just me adding that up there. So I'm going to chain 1 now. All right, okay, so chain 1 and then turn. And then it says the single crochet in the very first half double crochet was made. That was made. Okay, so there we go. Single crochet in the first half double crochet. Did you get that? So remember we did that half double, we single crochet right on top of it. Okay, and then it says to do 2 single crochets in the next chain 2 space. So here, 1 and 2. Okay, and then it says to do single crochet in the next cluster. Okay, so here's the cluster. I'm always doing it on the top. There's my top. There's how the clusters came together. Remember I showed you that in the previous another video. The clusters came together there. This is my top. Okay, so I'm gonna single crochet right into the top of there. All right, and then it says 2 single crochets in the next chain 2 space. 1 and 2. Okay, and then it says repeat from the star. Okay, so single crochet in the next cluster, 2 single crochets in the next chain 2 space. 1 and 2. This is row 3. Okay, cluster, single crochet right there, and then chain 2 space right there. Okay, 1 and 2. Let me go a little slower this time. Okay, so here is the top of the cluster. You see how they have the 3 there, 1, 2, and then there's the top of the cluster. So you're gonna go right into here to do your single crochet. Okay, and then there's the chain 2 space that we were doing. So we're gonna do 2 into here. Okay, 1 and 2. Okay, and then you're gonna do one right here on top of there. Okay, and then chain 2. 1 and 2. Okay, and then here's our cluster. Okay, it says we're going to be doing this all the way to the last 2 stitches. All right, the single crochet in the last cluster. Here we go. And then single crochet in the top of the turning chain. So that was the last cluster, and here's the turning chain. All right, so we're gonna find the top of it. See that turning chain? There's the top of it. Okay, see the turning chain? There's the top. So we're gonna single crochet right into the top of that one. Okay, and then it says to chain 2 and then turn, and that's it. That's your hole in the wall. That's rows 1 through 3, and you repeat the pattern on this one. Okay, isn't that lovely? So you know, if you want to, you repeat rows 2 and 3 for the entire pattern. So you're gonna go back doing your yarn overs and clusters here, and then your row 3 is your rows of single crochets. Okay, so row 2 is clusters and chain 2s, and then row 3 is a row of completely single crochets. Pretty simple. All right, if you have any questions, you can post your comments in the comment section below, and we'll be sure to get back to you, or you can email us at connect@ourcrochetconnection.com. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to lots of crocheting. Until next time, beloveds, be well.